We lost Tyler's beautiful
Cameron.
face.
Probably a UFO flying over his house
Oh
right now.
my god. The government.
Ah! Ah, we flown too close to the sun, boys. Book it. You've all got your bug out bags. Go, go.
The government cut off is trying to
Wait.
silence Tyler. I'm Charlie.
This is Carl.
I'm Tyler.
This is Occasional Insight, episode 7. We're talking about aliens. Actually, not even aliens. More UFOs. More UFOs.
What's
The
the
aliens
difference?
are kind of
Yeah, what
Well,
is the
UFOs
difference?
because UFOs don't necessarily have to be from aliens. They could
Okay.
be from some secret thing on Earth that are humans, or they could be from another civilization.
Just because it's an unidentified flying object does not mean it's an alien. It can be an unidentified flying object and be from Earth. Just like
Yeah.
all
It could still be
rectangles
another
are not
species,
squares,
too.
but all squares are rectangles.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because I do think that. Okay, so I've said before that I believe in everything.
Mhm.
And when you believe in everything, basically, if every single possible thing is believable, then you kind of have to go with the most likely belief, right? So I believe everything, but not at the same time. I think anything's kind of possible, but you can't have two conflicting things true at the same time. But the thing with UFOs that bugs me, kind of thinking like it just bothers me to think that even if one single person saw a UFO that can like do the types of things that you would imagine a UFO to be able to do, like shoot away into outer space and stop on a dime and go insanely fast. Sometimes it seems like they're going faster than even that you can see. I think if one of those sightings was real, it's not so much that, oh my god, it's crazy that like there's a UFO, I saw a UFO. It's more crazy that that type of thing is possible. That's the thing that really gets me. Like I actually don't think the aliens thing is as important as the UFO thing. Because if we had our hands on something that could do that, I think that would be pretty exciting. I think that would be pretty cool if we could just kind of go wherever we wanted to very, very fast or harness that apparent technology.
I think aliens are cooler than UFOs, in my opinion, because aliens have unlimited potential, whereas UFOs are confined to a specific area of thing like travel. Whereas, like, I don't know, there could be aliens out there that are using like wormholes like Stargate, where you can just like step through something and you're in a different, like, that is so much cooler than a spaceship, in my opinion. But yeah, like there's 100% UFOs. I don't necessarily believe if they're aliens because I don't think that aliens would care enough to come check us out and not interact. I can't say the name, but I know it translates to scout. Like there was a UFO that was found by a group of astronomers in Hawaii, I believe. And like that story has some serious evidence to it. I think they ended up knocking it down or chalking it up as a comet because they didn't want to officially say that it was a UFO or an alien, but yeah, like it did all of the things you were talking about. It zipped around at weird angles, it stopped, it had no tail, it reflected light in an awkward way so that they either thought it was perfectly flat or I think it was cigar shaped or something along those lines. It's really cool. I would recommend looking it up and reading it. There's a lot of papers on it, but all of the papers seem to have a lot of math in it, which, but yeah.
Papers on what? This incident?
Yeah, like everything that they observed and what it violated or what they expected it to do versus what it did, the rules that it didn't behave in. If it were a comet, like if it were a comet, they expected it to have like a specific type of tail. They would have expected some sort of chemical composition that they would have been able to observe off the back of it that wasn't there. There's a whole bunch of different theories about, okay, well, maybe there's more hydrogen makeup in it, which if that was the case, then under these conditions at this speed, then it wouldn't have had this kind of tail, or its tail wouldn't have been observable by the telescope at the time. Yeah, like there's a lot in the papers that is not necessarily about the stuff that I find interesting, but there's also a lot of cool stuff in there that's like, oh shit, that is legitimately a UFO, and I find it more entertaining or more believable because it's not just some random in his backyard with his cell phone camera. It's like these are physicists, these are astronomers, these are what we consider smart people, and they're like, shit, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, those kind of stories are much, I shouldn't say stories, but those sightings, I guess is probably the better way to put it. Feel that they're probably a credible source. Are a lot more interesting. It's the same as the Colonel Fravor. He was a Navy pilot who saw the Tic Tac shaped UFO. Has it on video and on instrument, and it's just doing crazy shit that makes no sense. Like those types of things, I find really interesting because I mean, I find it very hard to believe. Now, again, I mean, anybody can make up any bullshit they want, but I feel that there's a sense of credibility to you know a Navy pilot kind of has a little more sense of authority. Like I don't know really what their end game would be, just talking shit about something random. Really like them when you hear or see stories or articles and incidents about things happening that have been seen by legitimate people as opposed to just some dude out having on his 17th beer in his backyard.
Yeah.
So I
You
have
know
a
what's
question
funny?
for the two of you, really quickly. Have any of you actually seen anything that would be UFO related or UFO adjacent?
I have not.
Not that I couldn't explain away pretty easily. I assumed that I've seen blinking things in the sky and whatnot, and like, oh, it's a UFO, and then you get closer and it's just like a tower and there was fog. Um,
Mm,
but yeah, like I don't think I would have a legitimate story that couldn't be explained away very easily, at least. I'm assuming you do because you asked the question. It's
I
a loaded
did.
question.
Well, I've seen one something once, and I'm not sure what it was. Now, to say that it was a craft from outer space, I can't say that. It was the middle of the day. It was like summertime. I think, yeah, it was summer because I want to say I would have been early teens kind of thing. Yeah, like probably 14, 15.
Were
And
you alone?
no, I was with my grandfather.
Cool.
So basically, I was walking. So my house when I grew up was kind of here. My grandparents' house would have been sort of here, and there was like a field in the middle. We had like a big row of pine trees by my house, and there was like a field. So you just walked across the long field to my grandparents' house. So I was heading over to see my grandfather one day, and we were just shooting the shit. He was standing on the deck having a cigarette. I was just kind of standing on the driveway talking to him, and we were just kind of talking about whatever. I don't remember specifically what it was. It wasn't anything of import. And then yeah, I looked up because I saw something kind of caught my eye. It was like a shimmer in the sky, basically. So I thought it was like a plane or something flying by. But I looked up at it, but it was bright silver, like I mean, like perfectly silver, like shiny, almost like stainless steel, like super super shiny. And it was a triangular shape, and it was just sort of hovering, sitting there. And it was like way off, like it was far off in the distance. It was just kind of sitting about like if the tree line was here, it would have been about I don't know, maybe like 30 degrees above the tree line. Like if you're looking a
How high
straight
above
line
the
up,
ground?
relatively high up. I
Okay,
don't want to venture guess. It was quite far off. At least it appeared to be quite far off. But
like
then I
as high as a
noticed it
plane would be.
little lower, like probably high flying altitude, like helicopter or low flying plane. Probably in and about that kind of ballpark. And I remember pointing out to my grandfather, and he looked at it and went, "Oh, that's interesting." And
Nice.
then I went, "Yeah, that's weird." So I looked at him. I said I pointed it out to my grandfather. He looked at it. I looked over at him to talk to him for a second, and then I looked back up. And just as I looked back up, it just kind of went across. It was just like a straight line, and then it was just gone. And that was it. Like it was like a couple of seconds. There was no flashing lights. There was no sound. That was the other thing that's really what kind of was the more strange was that there was no sound. Like it wasn't like if it was a plane or a helicopter, there would have been the the typical rumble of the
Oh,
engine or the flight path or something. Because again, like I said, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was like it wasn't like jetliner like way up in the stratosphere. Like it would have been. And yeah, it was just kind of a silver glint. Saw for a few seconds, kind of went across the sky, the horizon, and was gone.
how far away was it? Like more than like 500
Without
meters?
well, yeah, but I
Okay.
can't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
give because I don't know the size of it. Like so I couldn't give you an estimate of like oh it was 3 miles away because I mean it
Hey,
maybe it was the size of my cell phone and it was you know what I mean like it's but yeah it was definitely
okay, this
off in
is
the distance.
perfect because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like that thing that you saw. First of all, okay, because when you started describing it, I was like, oh, could be a balloon, right? But then you said it like shot off, like it flew away really fast. So
Yes.
that's exactly what I mean. Like it doesn't even matter what like it's possible. What you saw is possible. That's what like fucking pisses me off. Like we're missing out on something. That's fucking sick. I did not know that. I think you told me you saw a UFO, but you didn't describe it to me one time.
I knew that one day we'd have a podcast. I'd save it for then.
I'm surprised you saw a UFO and I haven't. I would love
Well, I
to
never
see a
looked for them
UFO.
either. Like I just it was just a random like I said, like in
Huh.
the middle of the day, so it wasn't like I was seeing like flashing lights or anything. 'Cause I mean, I'm the same as you, Ty. Like I've, you look for it, but then you see a flat blinking light that turns out to be a cell phone tower,
Mhm.
or you see the light and you're like, oh, what's that? And then the next thing you know, 5 minutes later, a minute or two later, you're hearing the engine of the plane or the whatever's that's flying over, or the helicopter or whatever. So it's like you're psyching yourself up for stuff. Oh no,
Did your grandpa
happened,
ever?
Tyler.
I have no
Oh,
idea.
so did your grandpa ever talk about it after that?
I would bring it up and whatever, and he'd mention it, but because I asked him if he'd ever seen anything like that before, and I pointed it out to him, and he said no. So I
Yeah.
don't think it was like something that, because again, my grandfather grew up and lived in the same area, like where I grew up, but his whole life. So
Is the thing like one of the things I've heard over and over about how UFOs kind of travel through space is that basically they make a lot of gravity around the ship
hmm
and it bends space-time, and it makes it so that everything is closer together. The distances between things are much closer. So something, 1,000 miles away, if you're in this craft, would just be, you're moving to the right a little bit. But to people, observers outside the craft, it would look like it's like kind of
mm.
zipping away.
Are we doing the event
And
horizon analogy here, where we take a piece of paper and fold it over?
And they do the
yeah,
folds. That's exactly what
that's
it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's in like all, yeah, they do that in a lot, but I think Event Horizon they did it the
they did
first
it
time.
perfect. That was my
Hmm.
favorite.
It's a good way of
Sidebar:
thinking of
that
it.
movie's so good.
But every time I see that, I'm
Carry on.
like, doesn't that kill the universe though? Like you're folding. Like, what do you mean you're
We
folding?
don't know. We don't know
You
enough
know,
about the universe to say what's going to kill it and what's not.
there is stuff about like this, like that is a real thing when you go really, really, really fast, or when you have a very, very big gravitational field, distances get smaller. That's like one of like the effects that's theorized in it. Um, that is so fucking sick. So why are you like up all night like trying to solve fucking what this thing was? I would drive me nuts. I can't believe that.
But, like, how is he going to solve what it
I
was?
don't know,
I,
dude.
I
I've
don't
never
know. It's
seen it
just
again. If I could see it consistent, if I saw that same thing consistently in the same spot, or if I observed the same type of thing again and again, yeah, I would probably be going crazy trying to figure it out. But
Yeah,
it's
like if
like,
it was following you and shit.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
like would be wild. That'd be very
Mhm.
interesting. But I mean, like it was a one-off event, dude. Like I don't know how else to say it. It's like you've only saw lightning once in your life. You don't know what it is because like
Yeah.
are you
No,
gonna
that was weird.
I have two theories for what like let's say that thing you saw really was a
Mhm.
machine that could do that. I have two theories,
Well, what else
and
would it have been?
one's really, really, really
Yeah.
stupid. Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
What else could it
I
be?
enjoy stupid. Go ahead.
You
Let's
want to
do
hear
the
my
goofy. Yeah,
stupidest
let's do the
theory?
stupid one first. What do you think, Tyler? You want to hear the dumb one
Okay.
first?
Always. Yes, always.
Now, okay. Remember what I said earlier? How I believe in everything, but not at the same time. So
Mhm.
this, I am kind of joking when I say this, but you got to ask yourself. Well, I'll ask you after.
No, you're
Okay.
not.
It's the fucking dolphins. It's dolphins. Dolphins build UFOs, and dolphins are the ones that are flying around in these UFOs. That's the
Is that
stupid
why
theory.
there's like fail army shit where they steal like iPads and shit? They're getting more components.
Yeah, they need stuff.
Mhm, mhm.
That's yeah. I actually have okay, this is the thing with dolphins.
Now I
They're
have so long.
literally
Thanks for all the fish stuck in my head. I
yeah,
appreciate that.
Thanks, dude.
welcome.
Are you sure this isn't
There's
because you watched Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy recently?
it's not, no.
Kind of what I was leaning to.
Yeah, I'm thinking it
So
is.
I got to preface, I don't think it's actually dolphins, but thinking about that kind of leads me to two kind of concepts that I find interesting. When you're thinking about how could a machine like this be built? How could a machine like this work? And it makes me think of a couple things. First of all, dolphins are, I've heard, literally as smart as we are.
Mhm.
Literally.
Hmm.
The problem, the only reason they can't really do science and stuff, well, the opposable thumbs thing, you can't, you know, but also they live in the sea. So you can't make fire. You can't, you
There's
can't have
there's no
an
pathway to
industry.
technological advancement. Yeah.
Yeah, they get to this thing. But it made me think, like, if they were, let's say there was some crazy smart, a whole bunch of smart dolphins that were all scientist dolphins. What type of science would they do? Well, they'd probably do science in the
Damn it.
atmosphere that they live.
Science
Okay?
dolphins.
Mhm.
Science dolphins. Now, I'm going to abandon this idea because I don't think it's dolphins. But the thing that this leads me to is if there's aliens, okay, from another planet,
I
that
can't
other
believe you're
planet's
saying
going to
if.
have
Yes,
what's
there
that?
are. I
There
can't believe you're
has to
saying
be.
if, but yeah, like there are aliens, dude.
But I don't know about like advanced though. They're,
Okay,
it's
okay, yeah, yeah, okay. I'm
you
following
know,
you. Yeah.
because you gotta remember like aliens could be like super advanced or they could just be kind of the same. It could be a little bit behind. It could be only a little bit ahead.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not good at stuff. Maybe they have human rights activists back home that are like, don't probe humans, and
Possibility. Yeah.
I
you
like
know,
them.
you
Hmm.
know. But the thing is, if they're on a different planet, it's going to have different gravity, probably going to have different air pressure. It's going to have a different atmosphere. They're going to be able to see different types of
You're
reaction.
also assuming that they're carbon based.
Not even. It could be. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like the atmosphere that they are in is probably not going to be the same as Earth,
Yeah, yeah.
right? In terms of what they're made of, But I'm more talking about in terms of science that they're going to be able to do and the phenomena that they're going to be able to witness. We might not have access to.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
very unlikely.
water boils at what? Is it 100 degrees?
Yes.
But if you go to a mountain, I think it boils a little bit less temperature. It takes less than 100 degrees to boil water. Um, Fire can only really happen in an atmosphere like that we've got here. So maybe they might be able to see different types of reactions and things like that. Things like lightning on Earth. That's like a crazy phenomena that we witnessed and then we figured out.
Hmm.
I
Figured out
mean,
how it works.
the universe is big enough that gravity could behave differently in the part of the universe that they reside in.
Maybe. I think they said that
It's a possibility.
yeah, maybe. I don't think so. I think I don't know. I can't argue, but I've heard people say that the laws of physics are the same everywhere.
Yeah, but that is an assumption. But yes.
No,
Yeah,
no, it's an observation. They can see that.
but we
They can see
can't
it.
see that because we can't observe the entire universe at the same time.
Let's
But
not let's
yeah,
not go back into the
that's
pedantics of arguing
completely,
about.
yeah, it's completely off topic.
When you hear these, people talking about UFOs, like whistleblowers and stuff, sure, they might be lying, they might be making it up, but they kind of say this. They say similar things. They say that the materials that it's made of didn't get made on Earth, but also can't be made on Earth. I heard one guy saying that they can only be made in zero gravity, like these elements that they use. And we know that elements have certain properties. And like I said, the thing I keep going back to is like phenomena. That's how we learn things about the universe. We see it happen. We say, what the fuck was that? And then we learn about it. And I think there's a lot of potential phenomena that could happen with a different mixture of elements, a different type of,
Mhm.
a different size planet, a different type of atmosphere, a different type of pressure. There would be phenomena that we could witness, that we could learn from, that we couldn't necessarily predict.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, maybe they're more advanced, but maybe they're luckier because they just have the composition on their planet. They've got a lot of some kind of element that we don't have a lot of, so we're not
Yeah.
able to play with it enough.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at like a large scale of time, then we could be wiped out at some point because of the conditions of our solar system. So, like, our star could explode, and that's the end of the human race. That is it for us. There could be another civilization that had more favorable conditions, and therefore their civilization proceeded much longer than us. So the point where we stop, they have centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries of advancement after us. Like, there have been multiple extinction level events on Earth. If those events hadn't have happened, we could be X period of time further ahead than we already are right now. So, like, we could
Yes.
be substantially more advanced. We might be a little bit more dinosaurish. So you could have a civilization that has lived in like a perfect Goldilocks condition since they came to exist, I guess, or since they evolved to the point of sentience, and are able to just streamline advancement. Like, look at how fast we have advanced since uh, even the last 20, even the last 50 years. Like, once we hit a point, it became exponential. And I'm assuming that exponential curve, like, look at what's happening with AI right now. That exponential curve is just going to get crazier and
Yes.
crazier. If somebody hit that even a decade earlier than us, they could be astronomically more advanced than we are right now.
What is it, like 60 years, 60 something years between the first plane at Kitty Hawk and landing on the moon?
Yeah, that is nuts.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that it's possible that, or maybe not possible, would you like the idea that, quote unquote, let's say aliens, UFOs, they're all real? Would you think that it's likely that they're from Earth and maybe they're an ancient civilization or even ancient humans that maybe left the planet?
I don't think so. I think UFOs, like, when did we start really seeing UFOs? I don't know specifically, but I'm going to take a stab that it was around the end of the Second World War, give or take.
Uh,
Like, no,
well, there's
historically
been,
there's I know there's the amount of fucking vessels in like the Hindu scriptures, and there's shit like forever. Yes.
Mhm.
yeah.
But I'm also going to take those with a bit of a grain of salt, simply because an ancient civilization seeing a comet, that could be the chariot of the gods. I'd say take that aside for a second. And I'm saying, like, I would say that by and large, at least in written history, there's exponentially more sightings now than there ever has been in the course of human history.
Yeah, if you take away like the ancient alien stuff, it's basically, you're right, like Second World War.
What I mean though is that there's a section there from like the Dark Ages to I don't know, don't quote me on this. There's gonna be some fucking person who's be like, "You're fucking wrong, you asshole." But there's gonna be like from
Actually, there was a
yeah,
sighting in
but like I
1656.
genuinely feel that like from say the Renaissance to now,
It seemed to have been more
and now
prominent around the end of the Second World
but
War. You're right.
that's what I'm getting at. So what I'm getting at is I think there's two reasons potentially for that. One of them is a lot more likely than the other. So the more woo-woo kind of idea is that if we did garner any alien interest around the time we started dropping nuclear and atomic bombs.
Yep.
So that in and of itself could be like, okay, these little fucking monkeys are actually starting to get somewhere. And maybe that
Milestone
garnered
theory.
some interest. You know what I mean? Some mild interest.
Yeah.
Or the more likely, in my opinion, is that generally speaking, what we know of technology right now, the cutting edge of what the civilian world knows of technology, is 30 to 60 years behind military grade technology and what the militaries of the world are doing. So, is there a possibility that those UFO sightings and those things that we've seen that started to kind of pick up around the end of the Second World War, like in the 50s, like the Roswell was in the 50s, right? That's when that whole crash and everything happened, wasn't it? If I'm
1947. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so
It's
in
around.
about that ballpark. So,
Yeah.
what are the chances though that they're unmanned drones? Because like if you didn't know what it was, and someone like even if you saw like the drone shows now, like if you took someone from 1940s, brought them to and sat them down and were like, look at this show, and then showed them a drone fucking show, like a drone light show, that would fucking be mind blowing.
What is
Yeah.
it? Any technology sufficiently advanced will appear as magic.
That's correct, 100%.
Yeah.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. So my thought process is that I genuinely think now, not to say that I love the idea that aliens were here before. I think the most interesting take on world history and world and human evolution is that we evolved from tampering from space aliens. I think that is the coolest
I
idea.
like
I
it.
do like I love it. I think that is great.
Yeah.
Do I really think that's necessarily that we were genetically altered and changed? Maybe. Again, that's kind of leaning more into the fringe ancient aliens show shit. But I
Yeah.
think the more likelihood is that the majority of sightings, potentially, of aliens throughout history is more than likely, in my opinion, comets or a meteor hit, a meteor impact, potentially things like that. More likely, I think the concept as well of actually seeing like a spaceman or like you know what I mean, like those things are like these. It very well could be the ancient Incans just met someone who literally crossed the ocean from Europe. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, is that necessarily? I don't know. I mean, it's just as likely, in my opinion, that it could have been a time traveler coming back to do a fucking science project than it could be ancient aliens from another world, right? So, but I think the concept, I think majority of our stuff that we see now is probably human technology that we just don't know exists yet. And fast forward another 20 or 30 years when things start to come to the private sector, so to speak, like we'll now start being like, "Oh, look what Elon Musk discovered. Teslas can now fly in zero gravity. Wow, crazy, right?" And then there's some fucking, some Boeing or Lockheed Martin engineer going, "Yeah, it's weird. Hmm, fuck ever thought of that?" So weird. Good job, Elon. High five. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think that we're more advanced than we give ourselves credit for. And what may actually be a UFO to the American or the Canadian military or the governments is probably just that's the Russian version or the Indian version or the Chinese
Mhm.
version that we just don't. We know of it, but we don't really know about it. Way more interesting when it's aliens.
Well, yeah, I just, I mean, there's basically been, like, the US government has basically come out flat out and said there are machines in the sky that outperform our tech by thousands of years.
What do you mean the American government has said there's things that outperform our tech by thousands of years?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
American government's also the same governmental agency that ran Project Bluebird
Yeah, like
and
are we talking
and misinformation
are we talking
campaigns
Trump
to
said these things, or like was it on Twitter?
No, no.
Trump just tweeting from the Ministry of Defense account again.
Aliens get
No, no, no.
I
Actually, it's
know
funny you
stuff
said
that
that.
you wouldn't even want to know about.
I don't know. Like we are we are so obsessed with ourselves. Like if aliens existed, or if aliens exist, which they do, 100%. There is life on other planets. Are they at the same level as us or ahead? Who knows? I actually kind of find it terrifying to think about, in all honesty. But if they are ahead of us tech-wise, then like why would they bother come checking us out? What's the point? Like, is it the same as us studying bugs? Like is that what people think? Like, why does everybody think that if aliens exist, they have to come check us out? Like, why are we that important?
We're not. I don't think, honestly. I think in the
Exactly. Like,
grand
in the
scheme
grand
of
scheme of things, we're infinitesimal.
and our level of technology and advancement is pretty infantile. I would
Yeah.
imagine to anybody or
What are they going to learn
any
from us?
yeah to
But that's the
any
thing. You don't really know that. Maybe we are only a little bit behind them, and they are like, "Holy shit!"
Okay, then
Because remember, like the
But
thing
then
with
how are they
space,
strong.
getting
like,
here? But then how are they getting here
well,
doing
this is the thing with space is like when you go, even if you go insanely fast, thousands of years could pass between visits. So maybe in the past we were literal fucking animals. Like we're animals now, but I mean like literally nothing. Like it would be like if we came across a bunch of squirrels and a bunch of
Yeah, like
beavers,
we hadn't even discovered tools.
nothing.
Yeah.
And then they leave, go whatever, and they're like, yeah, there's like water there and gold, so we should probably go back and start mining. And then they come back and they're like, what the fuck?
They have
You
tools
know,
now.
5,000 years goes by and we're like on the moon and we've got shit spinning around the earth and like satellites and stuff and lasers. And they're like, holy shit, what happened here? And it's like, it's the same interested thing. And the other thing is like, you got to remember, if there's another civilization, it's going to not match, but certain things are going to rhyme with our culture. You're going to have assholes. They probably have assholes. There's probably some alien assholes. There's probably aliens that are really nice. Maybe there's some religious ones. Maybe there's some like ones that disagree with going and visiting other. You know what I mean? Like,
That
so they're
also
gonna have
means that you'll have
scientists, like,
some genocidal ones. You'll have
yeah,
uh, uh, Hitler alien, and if
right,
that Hitler alien won, unlike ours lost. But if that Hitler alien won, then maybe that Hitler alien rules the planet. They're thousands of years more advanced than us, impossibility. Then should we really be screaming out into the void, hey, come look at us?
right,
Like that's what terrifies me about it. Like we we are very self-important, as I said. Like we think we are the shit. We are not. We could be screaming out there and there could be monsters on their way. And we're
yeah.
just like,
literally?
hey, come here.
The dark
Like,
forest. It's called dark forest. The dark forest analogy.
yeah, don't be afraid of the dark. Be afraid of what's in the dark. Like,
Yeah,
why are we doing it? And I am very in agreement of this. I don't think that is the likeliest scenario. I think the likeliest scenario, though, like if we are going to encounter aliens, is because either one, we fuck over our planet so hard that we need to jump out, which means we will make fleets and we will go off and we will land wherever we land and we will act as refugees, or vice versa. another civilization out there has fucked up their planet so bad that they invest all of their tech into getting off their planet and they end up here as refugees. I think those situations are the two most likely, personally.
Agreed. Or
It's
AI
like
goes bad, and we're literally making Cylons right now, and we'll be Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
I think like it's like if you're in the back to that dark forest analogy. Because okay, there's a quote. It's there's two possibilities: that we are alone in the universe or that we're not alone in the universe, and both are equally terrifying.
Equally terrifying. Yeah.
And if we're alone, that's kind of also I think that's fucking horrifying because it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, we are actually alone, and this is how we're behaving. Like, this is the only place in the universe where there's like rights and like love and meaning and like,
this is the only
what the
place in the
fuck?
universe where there is sentience. See, if we are alone in the universe, then to me, that almost proves the existence of God. That almost proves the existence of intelligent design, because then we are actually special.
Yeah,
And
because
that
we
is
beat all the
mind-blowing.
odds.
Exactly.
And we
Like,
should really be doing a fuck lot more with what we got.
and I'm
Because
not
we're the
necessarily talking
best.
about God like a person. I am talking about like there is a formula to the universe. We exist for a reason, which means there's a puzzle to be solved.
Why do you think it means that we're here for a reason? If we're alone in the universe, why does that give us our life a reason or a purpose?
If we are the only sentient being in the entire universe,
Why?
How? Why? There has to be a why.
Why? Why does there have to be a why?
Because how many planets are there in the universe, Charlie? Like think of it, like how many.
No, I understand that. I
So
understand the
what are the
impossible.
chances? Well, because then to
Okay,
Tyler's
but like,
point, no, but to Tyler's point is that it is there is no numerical chance in my mind that with the vastness and the sheer volume of planets and solar systems and the potential for life, if we are the only one, there has to be something that happened, or there has to be a touch of divinity in something. Like, why would we be the only thing in all of this fucking inconceivable vastness and to be
but
the
how is that
only
any
thing?
difference? How is that any difference from like the reality right now? Because right now it seems that way.
Well, no, it doesn't.
So until we find aliens, then there's a God.
No.
Because like so far, what you're describing
Well,
is
because then we'd actually
the
be
base.
special.
But that's what you're
Yeah.
saying right now because we haven't
If we
found aliens.
found out, no. No. If I don't look at it that way because I genuinely do not. I can't fathom a possibility that we are alone in the vastness of the universe. I think it's literally impossible. So that's not an
Okay.
option for me because it cannot happen. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
For the sheer volume of life we have on this planet, and for it to live in the extremes that it does, like a tardigrade living at the bottom of the fucking ocean, or being able to be in the vacuum of space and come back and still live, and that's just a little fucking thing that we have here. What the fuck is able to live out there in all these other vastnesses? It's literally inconceivable that we would be alone. If our planet is the only bastion of life, then it begs to me, to Tyler's point, there's only two possibilities at that point. Either we are fucking as special as fuck to be the only rock in all the uncalculable amount of rocks that has anything on it. That's fucking insane. There has to be something more to it. It can't just be the only. We're the only of all of these options to have anything, or we're the only thing left. Something else has happened to
I
everything
mean,
else.
think about that one.
So are
I
we
was gonna
just
say
that?
time is a big thing. It's not only where, it's also when.
Well,
There
that's
could
the
have
thing.
been
That maybe there's
exactly.
been a maybe there's been a fucking halo rings have all been popped. The flood was a real thing, and we're the only little planet that survived.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did it. We fucking killed everybody. We just forgot. Imagine that. We're the victors.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Even more terrifying, actually.
Well, it's like if you're in the woods and it's nighttime and you kind of hear the crickets and like birds chirping and stuff, and then all of a sudden everything goes fucking quiet. That's usually really bad. That usually means there's a pretty terrifying predator nearby. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of how it seems when we look out at the stars. Like we don't fucking really see anything.
Yeah,
Like
but see, like that analogy doesn't work because we don't hear the crickets, we don't hear the birds, so there's nothing going silent.
It's
We have
just already
lived
silent.
in perpetual silence indefinitely,
that's fair. Yeah, that's true.
which means we're always in that heightened state of terror.
Maybe it's
Well,
insanely
it's
rare. Maybe life is just very rare. There's
well,
only
I
20
don't say that it's
billion.
not very rare, but what I'm saying though, Charlie, is that look at on our planet alone. How much life is there here?
I know. All I'm saying is there's only 20 billion planets uh, in the Milky Way estimated that are like Earth, and maybe the odds of life happening are less than 1 in 20 billion.
Okay,
Only
but that's just
20
the Milky
billion.
Way. How many other galaxies are there?
Right. But we can
And
never,
the
yeah,
Milky Way is not, if correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not that big compared to the
well,
vastness of other
I,
galaxies.
I don't think we can ever leave the Milky Way.
No, I'm not disagreeing, but my point still stands though, is that
Yeah.
to say that even if it's a 1 in 20 billion, but there's galaxies out there that might have 20 trillion Earth-like
Yeah.
planets in them. So by that, even if it's 1 in 20 billion, well then there's a fuck ton of potential other life out there. So that's why I'm saying is that I think the numbers game is definitely not in favor of there's no life out there.
Do you think like humans really care about this question?
No.
Like, and I mean, like in politically and stuff, because like we went to the moons for one reason: we wanted to, and
Well,
We
a
see,
went
lot
to
of
the
inventions came out of
the,
that.
the
Like, I
push to
just,
the moon was a push. Like, it was
it
political, for
was
sure.
to
yeah,
be
It was,
right,
right,
yeah, exactly. It was a competition.
and they won.
They won. That is as
The North
simple
American
as
Space
you could
Agency, we won.
possibly
Fuck you,
make it.
Russia. We did it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, like the interest in space that there was, I think it petered out. Like it might come back for sure, but people don't currently see it as the solution or the big thing to explore, which kind of confuses me, to be honest with you, because like it's the only thing left to explore. Most,
Minus the
if not,
oceans.
yeah, I guess the oceans, which is a little like space is safer, man. The
Space is
deepest part
easier
of the
than the
ocean,
ocean. That's the
space is
crazy part.
easier. So yeah, I don't get why people don't care more, but I do see that, like, for me, I don't think any of this or any of these questions will be addressed or answered in my lifetime. I don't even think they'll be addressed in the next generation's lifetime. Like, these are 7-generation questions. That's a guess, but 7 generations is what I would say roughly before we start making the advancements to the point where we can actually do things like space travel, where we can do things like check out deep in Mars to see if there is actually life there, which they're starting to do now, but not to the point where
I think it's a societal problem.
we
it's
used to
an
build
interesting.
cathedrals and shit. Those would
Well,
take like probably hundreds of years to
but
build. We used to do that.
we don't care about any of that anymore.
That's
Because
that's
what
what I'm
does
saying. Like,
but yeah, but that's why I
there's
say it's a
places we could
societal.
go that would just take a like there's a planet, an Earth-like planet in the Goldilocks zone. I think Proxima, whatever, one of those
Proxima
stars,
Centauri.
Mhm.
and it's 100 years away. With today's technology, we could launch a probe, get there, 100 years, and then I think it's either 100 years there and back or 100 years round trip. But imagine having, actual photographs of an entirely different solar system, different star, different planet. We could even if we saw trees, that would fucking
That'd be
we
insane.
would be like, we're going. We
But
need to go, and
but
it's
But like
nobody
you're
cares.
assuming that
exactly
hasn't
like,
been
but we
done
could
already.
do that. We just don't.
How do
What's
you know?
that?
How do you know? The same thing Carl was talking about with the military tech could be sufficiently advanced to the point of like what'd you say, 60 years?
Yeah.
60 years ahead of what is cutting edge right now in the mainstream. How do you know that the military hasn't launched probes to these other locations? How do you know that they aren't launching probes everywhere in space, or that there's different
True.
space monitoring systems that we have absolutely no idea of? Like, I know for a fact that there are some sort of plans in order to push asteroids off of their course if they come towards Earth. I don't know how
Yep.
any of it works, but I know that that system is in place. There have been some sort of military decisions planet wide in order to make those kind of things happen, right?
You
Right.
would think so. I just
Which
think
seems
that
the military is at least paying some form of attention to
They
space.
can do it backwards too. They can go into the asteroid belt or the Kuiper belt, and let's say they find a asteroid that's like platinum or all gold or something. They could do the same thing with it in reverse and nudge it closer to Earth and mine it.
Yeah, that's isn't
It's
that,
like we're
that
not
part
that
of what
far.
SpaceX is looking into is
Yeah, like
yeah.
mining the
within
asteroid?
probably 100 years from now, we will be very industrialized on the moon, and we'll
Makes me
we'll
think
be
of it, the
getting going.
Expanse,
I
the
think
Belters.
the
I
Belters.
love these.
I
It's
don't
so
see
realistic.
the problem, but the issue that I think we have right now with our society is that we don't have the itch to explore anymore.
I know. It's
As a
sad.
society, we don't.
They don't get that because like I loved doing that shit when I was a kid.
Well, yeah, I do too. I did as well. But the thing is, but we as a society don't give a shit because the majority of people now only care about what happens on that fucking 6-inch diagonal piece of glass that they stare at all day.
Or even an extension of that, they only care about what happens in their lifetime. Because if we were to go to
Yes,
Proxima Centauri, we
That's
would have it would be something that we're not going to know, but our kids will.
yep.
it's just
And it's the
funny.
same thing with like, Roman Colosseum, like they built that. The person who laid the first brick knew that he wouldn't live to see the end of it.
Yeah, but he did it for the good of Rome. Didn't do it for
Exactly.
his own good. He did it for the good of Rome.
But that's not our
And
society anymore.
that's not
I
how we
know. It's a
work.
shame. It's a shame.
Well, that's just the crazy
I
part
don't
is you
operate
think
for
with
the good of Canada. I operate for the good of me. Which I don't know if that's societal, but that's how it is. It's how it's always been, as far as I can say. Well, I operate for the good of me and mine. So anybody in my
fear.
circle of,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like,
But that's the
um,
problem. I feel that generations ago, like when we went to the moon, that was done to beat the Russians, but it was also done for the pride of country
mhm.
and the pride of not even just the country, not even just America, but it was well, NASA's not just American. Like that was the pride that was North America. That was all of us. There's the capsule was fucking designed by a Canadian. But
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of shit that was but that sense of exploration and wonder doesn't exist anymore.
Can we go back to the
Yeah.
whistleblowers thing?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
We like talked about that at the very beginning, and I had some thoughts, and then we kind of just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kept
We
going.
went off a little bit.
Why? How do I put this? Like, I don't see any reason to doubt what a lot of these whistleblowers are saying. Like the ones that are like, "Oh yeah, we have these UFOs, we have these aliens, these spacecraft, so on." So, like, why would they bother ruining their lives and outing themselves? And like, what's the point if it's not true? Like, I don't get like So I'm not talking about Snowden specifically because that's well documented.
Like
I'm
Commander
talking
Fravor.
about yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Why
any
would
of
he
the
make
ones
that up?
that have talked about, like, yes, I worked on this ship. We have this ship in this storage unit here. Like any of them that have outed things on Area 51. Like, why is there any doubt about what they say whatsoever? Because like I don't see how there is any gain in it for them at all. It's all a risk to bring it to the public attention.
Well, you don't really ever know their intentions, but the other thing is money. So, did you ever hear of that comet called Oumuamua? It's a
So
comet.
that's Scout. That's what I was talking about
Oh,
earlier.
that's what
I
you were
just
talking.
can't
Oh,
say the actual name.
Oumuamua. Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, like Oumuamua is
translates to Scout in English.
Hawaiian. Okay.
Hawaiian
Okay,
to
that's
English translation. Yeah, yeah.
so like that one was, yeah, it was basically interstellar, so not bound to the gravity of the sun. It was
Mhm.
from outside our solar system. It came into our solar system. We detected it. They noticed it get brighter, and based on the signature of the light coming off of it, they determined it had to be a disc shape,
A
and
disc
it
shape or a
slowed,
cigar shape.
or a cigar shape, and it slowed down when it came to our solar system. It actually slowed down, which shouldn't
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
Um,
And it didn't have a tail.
right, right. And because one of the theories was like, well, it slowed down because there's ice on it, and when the sun hit the ice, it exploded violently off of it and slowed down its trajectory or
Yeah.
whatever.
So that entire section that you're talking about is where it was all like math, and that no, I skip.
Yeah, I think the guy that he said there was like it was basically trick. I didn't read it. I couldn't do the math probably, but I think I remember hearing the guy talking about it, and he was saying that the math that they used to determine its shape could be done by a high schooler. It
Mm,
was basic calculus or basic trigonometry or something like that.
mm.
But my point was the
Yeah, man.
guy that I'm talking about. I don't know the guy's name, but some dude. He's kind of like the face of like the Oumuamua thing, and he was just a researcher, and he really fucking kind of went balls deep on this alien thing, and that's a situation where I think it's extremely he would be very incentivized to say it's a fucking alien because
You
he
think?
probably wasn't making 200 fucking $1,000 a year being a science researcher or an astronomer. He was probably making 50, 60K. As
Mm.
soon as he said an alien, he had 3 interviews lined up that week that were 10 grand each.
Mm, yeah.
When the science can kind of go either way, and he doesn't really necessarily have to put the full blown fucking tin hats on and say it's an alien 100%. All he has to say is I'm a researcher and it's possible that this is an alien, and he does it, and he gets paid 10 grand per interview to say that shit. Those
Yeah.
scenarios, I think, I don't know. And it's not even anything against that guy. I'd probably do it too. If I could ditch my shitty astronomy job to make like 300
Mm.
grand a year, just sitting there talking about nothing, I'd do it too. So sometimes, yes, if you're Commander Fravor, I don't think he's made a ton of money.
He hasn't tried to monetize it, I don't believe.
He hasn't really tried to monitor. I
He's
haven't
just done
seen him on like
interviews with
a
like Rogan and
lot
stuff.
of. That's
He did
right.
Rogan and he did a few on like CNN or whatever, like
And I
or
mean, like,
something like that.
it's an Air Force. Like, he's in the Air Force. I'm pretty sure you get like full fucking pension, like good fucking money. Like, you're set for life.
Exactly. That's
You're
what I'm talking
really
about.
risking your family and your well being and your retirement by coming out and saying something like that. So I
Mhm.
think those are two different things. The Oumuamua guy had less to lose than the Commander Fravor.
Well,
Yeah, but
So
potentially,
I,
but
I
there's a
don't count the Oumuamua guy. Wait, I'm gonna call it scout because that's how it's in my mind. But yeah, I don't count the scout guy as a whistleblower. He was a quote unquote scientist that was stating the facts that he witnessed and being paid for it. There was no risk to him whatsoever. They're not going to fire him for stating facts. He was not operating at a classified facility. There was no.
Hmm.
But there are situations where, like, they're talking about
Like Bob
stuff,
Lazar.
like stuff that's classified, basically stuff that they should not be putting into the public eye, but they are. And like, I don't get why they would bother doing that, like taking on all of that risk, risking their family, as you said, their pension, their future, their careers.
Risking
If
their
there's
freedom in some cases.
exactly right, like, what do they gain from it if not like for the like this is people need to know this kind of thing. No, it's always confused me, I guess I will say.
Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby. Making me crazy. Making me crazy.
And we were just demonetized if we were
Every
monetized.
time yeah.
No, I just think you're right, though. I do see your point, but you can't. I don't think we can safely remove and rule out the crazy factor.
Okay, have you
There's
ever
also
like
a. Can I
what
just
was
one
the thing
second?
you saw, Carl?
Just
What
one
do you
second.
think it was?
I don't know. I'll get back to it in a sec. Let me finish my train of thought. But
Okay.
the thing is you cannot take away the notoriety factor. Because for every person that's a whistleblower for the right reasons, because they people need to know. There is a potential that someone just wants their name to be infamous. My name will go down in history. I'll be remembered. Not doesn't matter if it's for a good thing or not. So there is, and again, I don't think that's not a large subset. Like I don't think that's a large percentage of the human population either. But there are those people out there that need to be or have a want to be like to have some type of notoriety or spoken about or to make, you know what I mean? So there are going to be
Yeah,
those
there's
too.
serial killers that cite that as
Yeah.
their reason for
Yeah.
killing people, man. I know
Absolutely. Well,
this.
that's what I'm so I mean like for every, Captain Fravor there's potentially as well some dude who's just talking nonsense just to
Mm.
get their name out there.
Yeah, but I don't see those types of people getting to reputable positions within the military or getting that classified class. What is it called? The
Clearance.
status where yeah, the like the clearance required to get to those classified facilities and work on these classified projects.
See,
So
but it becomes very difficult to sift out the bullshit people from the real people.
mm, mhm.
Because when you're in those positions, like if you're in I highly doubt that if you are in a high level at Area 51, say, you are going to be paid from a black book budget. You do not have a job. You do not, by any way, shape, or form, officially work for the U.S. government. You do
Yeah.
not work for the Air Force. You make a $200,000 a year, but that comes from a budget that doesn't exist. And if you leave the project, you just have a black spot, not even black spot. You just have an empty spot in your employment history for 10 years.
Mhm.
So it's difficult. So that's what makes it easier for those like the charlatans out there to prey on someone like Charlie who believes in everything. That's what makes it easier. Not just Charlie specifically, but no, but that's what makes it easier for these people to come forward and be on a show like Ancient Aliens or you know what I mean, come on a podcast somewhere and just talk shit because it's like, well, by the nature of being in that position potentially, whether they were or they were not, there's no record that you existed.
You could
Mhm.
literally say I worked for the CIA, and then you guys could call the CIA and be like, "Did Charlie work for the CIA?" And they would say, "We can neither
Neither
prove
confirm nor
Confirm nor
deny.
confirm
deny.
And you guys would be like, holy shit, he might have worked for the CIA.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. So that's I don't disagree. I think the ones that are probably the most reliable are like the military, like the ones like people who I almost think like someone like a Captain Fravor or someone like that who has no skin in the game, so to speak. Because like he's putting his shit out there potentially to be reprimanded, to put his pension on the line and stuff
Yeah.
for no reason. Whereas like as opposed to somebody like even with like a Bob Lazar or someone like that who's got I was a researcher at Area 51. And to be fair, I actually believe what he says. Like his shit's pretty compelling for the most part, and his story's been pretty much the same for fucking 40 years. So I mean, that's not nothing. Like
He
really,
doesn't
that's
change
not
the
nothing,
story at all.
right?
And
So
he's predicted actual science. He's predicted
yes,
stuff that
so
we didn't know.
so I'm just saying though. But someone like his position makes it very difficult to prove or disprove because yes, he graduated. He went to MIT. Yes, he worked at this university, even though but then it's kind of crazy because it's like, well, no, he never did officially in paperwork, but there's photographs of him working and photographs of him in like the faculty photo albums and shit working there that when he apparently didn't. So it's like, okay, so what the fuck does that mean? Like either you snuck in there on picture day or like you know what I mean, like the
Just
CIA or
photobomb.
someone else is fucking trying to wipe the slate clean, right? So it becomes difficult because it's like, but then another part of me is like, if he was really dropping state secrets, why the fuck isn't he arrested in Guantanamo Bay somewhere?
Because that's the whole reason he went public. That was his reasoning. Apparently, he literally had like what he perceived to be threats on his life, and that's when he went public.
Mhm.
That's fair, but again, it
See,
doesn't mean anything because what would it be? The worst case scenario, people would have taken him seriously for a couple of years, and then they would have forgot about him.
Mhm.
no one's
It's
forgot
probably
about him
more.
yet.
Well,
Look
no,
at how
because
many.
he's still alive. What I'm saying is
Look
like,
at what Snowden released, and everybody forgot about him in months.
yeah, except
I
for the
should
American
also
military.
mention,
That motherfucker ever steps foot back in the U.S., he's fucked.
yeah,
Oh
they
yeah.
weren't happy about that.
Yeah.
They weren't too happy about
No.
Snowden. I should mention, Snowden explicitly said he didn't find his access to classified info. He didn't find a single thing about aliens or UFOs. Nothing.
I wasn't aware he spoke on it at all.
Yeah, he said he
Hmm.
didn't find anything.
Now
I wonder. I
that
wonder if he
doesn't.
looked.
Well, even if he
Well,
did, I don't
apparently
think it
the
would
Air
matter.
Force, from one person I heard, the Air Force is actually in the most amount of dark. The United States Air Force knows the least about what's going on.
That doesn't
Uh,
actually surprise me. I
yeah,
think that like the Department of Defense would be really high up there about what they know, like, and what they don't know.
they're
And
also
there's,
like
I
under
think a lot of
deep
it's in is
government restrictions. I think it's Lockheed fucking Martin,
DARPA.
DARPA, like
Mhm.
these where you can kind of
Yeah, it's
give it
Lockheed
off to a
Martin,
private
DARPA.
corporation. They can
And
do,
culpability.
you give, that's where those black budgets come from because everything else has
That's where
to.
they go to.
That's right.
Mhm.
Um, that's what I think, and I really do believe that if you have enough resources, you can basically build anything. And
Within
there's some
within a
pretty
certain point.
exciting there's some pretty
I want a
exciting
Pacific Rim monster robot.
ideas that you could play with if you got some of the smartest people in the world working with an unlimited budget.
Mhm.
I think they'd
Oh,
probably
it's
figure out some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, nanotech scares me, that's for sure. I have a budget related question because I'm very curious what you're going to say, Charlie. If say this podcast is wildly successful, we get monetized, it becomes our full-time career. We go on a field trip to one alien location in the world. What is it going to be? Please don't say Roswell.
The set of the TV show Roswell. That was about alien teenagers or some shit, right?
You can say space if you want to, but please don't say space because I'm not coming if you say space.
Really?
I honestly
I'm never going
wouldn't.
to space.
So do you mean like where to go, like to get the highest chance of seeing a UFO?
To get the highest chance of seeing a
Whatever you want.
UFO or like anywhere. You can't. We're obviously not going to sneak into the CIA, although YouTubers have done it, or like sneak into Area 51 or shit like that. But yeah,
No, I
like,
ain't getting fucking arrested.
like, is there a specific telescope you would want to go use, like the one in Hawaii that observed Scout, or is there a place that is like, yes, there is always alien sightings here? Like I know there's a couple of them in South America with those 3 lights that are very common. Yeah, basically anywhere alien related that you would want to go.
I can't think of one. Like Area 51, I wouldn't expect to see UFOs there. It's probably really boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I think your best bet would be like spending 6 months in the coastline of Mexico or something, or Bermuda or something like that. Because I still think that they're in the water. That's what I think. I think they're in the water. There was one guy who claimed that he worked for this top secret American department, and they had been um, studying and researching and basically assessing the threat of this massive construction UFO that's in the Bermuda Triangle. They know there's other ones around the planet, but this one is the one that they deal with, and it builds UFOs for specific purposes, and then they go out. He said they rarely leave Earth, and they occasionally crash, and there are hot spots where they like to go. I would probably just like do some crackpot tinfoil hat research for a while, and then just go wherever I would think. I wouldn't expect to see anything though, just because that's my luck.
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited budget, I would still rather just us 3 get some kind of place somewhere in Ontario and have a fucking dope ass like $30,000 telescope. That's all. I'd be happy with that. So I could see nebulas and shit. I want to see nebulas or
I
nebulae.
genuinely think that what would end up happening is we would go looking for UFOs. We wouldn't see fuck all in the entire time we're there. But when we're leaving, Charlie would have his head in the fucking trunk of the car getting something, and Tyler and I would see something while you had your back turned.
The exact same thing you saw when you were a kid.
Yes! Oh my fucking god!
There it is.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
I'd be so mad. It's just like I've always been like an X-Files fucking like the
I know
truth
you
is
have.
out there. I swear to fucking God, the truth is out there. And I've never seen anything. And I want to so bad. Yeah, like a lot of people I've spoken to have a story. They like a lot of people.
Yeah, I would say
A
that's
lot of
pretty accurate. There's quite a few
like
people that have seen
way
something.
more than half of
Yeah, I
people
have
that
no
I
idea what
asked.
it was, Charlie. To be completely honest with you, man, I have no fucking clue.
But have
Do I
you ever
think?
thought about what it could be? Like, have you ever settled on anything, or does when you think about it, does your mind just kind of go towards shrugging, or do you have anything that maybe?
Well, so the thing that's sort of weird is again, I think that we are not alone. I do genuinely think there's other things out there, but like I haven't spent a lot of my life looking at what people's experiences with UFOs look like. I don't know. The funny thing for me is that like again without actually researching and putting a lot of time and energy into it, but I haven't really seen too many things that fit what I saw.
What does when you think about that incident, does your mind settle? Do you conclude anything?
I saw something that I can't explain And especially at that time, like I said, so for me, like if I was, 14, 15 years old, I'm 42 now. It's a long fucking time ago. I've never seen anything that looked like it before or since.